then you will follow the presentation as we discussed yesterday by video conference. I think it is another way, another model to deliver the lecture without moving from where we are. Now you will be asking questions. If you have any issues or following that, just ask me questions. Today we'll cover three topics: the structure of the skin, the function of and physiology of the skin, and then we'll go to primary and secondary lesions. I think this will be for today. Then tomorrow and Wednesday, we will cover some the common dermatology conditions, and we will be reading the guidelines of dermatology. You have everyone he has his copy. Okay, I think the rest of the content as clinical conditions of dermatology just will be using this guide. Uh-huh. Umuranyumva? Can you hear? Okay. Okay. Just I was saying that today we'll cover the basic in dermatology, made of the structure of the skin, functioning physiology, and then primary and secondary lesions. I think this will help you to read and to understand dermatology when in terms of terminology. Okay. Yes. Now the disease, the structure of the skin, um, it's composed by three components, and the skin we have said that it's also called integument, which comprise the hair, the skin, as and the hair and nails. When we say dermatology, those who learn dermatology, they learn these three, the disease, just they may concern these three uh, portion of the body. Now, it's the largest organ of the body, the human body, with 1 to 2 meter square in adult. And that's why it's said the skin has play a big role in protection. It comprises or again sensory organs. It has many layers, especially three: the epidermis, the dermis, and the hypodermis. And it is a continuous mucus with mucous membrane of the body orifice. When you go to the mouth, you see the mucous membrane is of the mouth is a continuation of the facial skin, isn't it? And we have they are they don't have the same thickness of the body, because when you go to the palm or sore, it is the diameter or the width is different from that of the eyelid. This have a big signification when we apply like a topical steroid, because the rate of absorption, topical absorption, is increased in those areas where the the epidermis is very thin, like in uh, like seen in eyelid. Now it has a pH ranging from 4 to 5.6. The type of the skin in terms of the hair presence or not. When we have someone who has many hairs, of course, this is hirsutism. There are some conditions where the disease may cause okay, what can I say? People to have many hairs at the area usually where there is no hair. Apparent on the face, for example, it's the hair. The face is also hair, but it has small and thin hairs. The area where we don't have hairs are the palm, the gland, and sores. Okay? The rest is glabrous. We say this is a glabrous skin, except the scalp, except the pubic area, the axilla. Okay? The rest is glabrous. Of course, the skin change with age. The aging also affect the structure of the erythema. You will see when someone is young, he has no wrinkles like here because the elastic fibers, which made of uh, uh, collagens and other elastic fibers, then they lose the elasticity, which means we have these wrinkles on the front area and other areas which usually you don't have this condition. Now, we have said this, the epidermis with the main people of Butare, you follow now?
Yes, we are
Yes.
for.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
the epidermis is composed mainly by cells called keratinocytes. We will see when we arrive to the uh, yeah, the internet. I'm using my okay, asante. Now, beneath the epidermis, we have the basement membrane, or not known as the epidermal junction, which play a big role in um, nutrient exchanging. And then beneath the basement membrane, we have hypodermis or subcutis. Now, this is the cross section of the skin. As you see here, the epidermis with the keratinocytes. This is the basement membrane here. Between epidermis and fat layer, or subcutis, or hypodermis, we have the dermis. Now, through the skin structure, we have the sweat gland, we have the capillaries again, which play a role of nutrition of the skin, melanocytes, which has a role of protection, we will see later, and of course, the hair. You see the hair shaft here with sebaceous gland, which make oily or smooth our skin, and it play a big role in uh, rehydration of the skin rehydration. Of course, we have the main layers that cross the fat layer or subcutis, and then with these capillaries rising from uh, blood vessels. Of course, we have nerves because that's why we have sensory nerves and motor nerves. Okay. Now, the epidermis is made of mainly keratinocytes, which have different uh, edge from the basement area up to the upper layer known as uh, corneum. Okay? Keratinocytes produce protein keratin and are the major building block cells of the epidermis. And the epidermis is not vascularized. Okay? As you see here, there is no vascularization. You see, it is not vascularized because the exchange just is played by the basement membrane here. But mainly the epidermis and the subcutis are only vascularized. Okay? And it's entirely dependent of underlying dermis for nutrient delivery and waste disposal through the basement membrane. Now, we have this epidermis, which have again sub layers, and these sub layers we have many like many cells, keratinocytes, are, as it growing up, it goes up. This is the young one. It divides itself and goes up to here. What you can notice here at the basement membrane, they are nucleated. Okay, as they go up, they tend to be flat. Okay, and up to the stratum corneum, they have already lost all the nucleus, which means za mbyiro mujya mubona small that tuntu tuva kunuza kuruhu. This is made of stratum corneum. That's why this, of course, this still play its role of protection. That's why we advise people to not use this ibintu mukoresha muri kwiyoza. It's not good, especially with people who suffer from atopic dermatitis. Now, what we can retain here, the epidermis is made of sub layers which contains from the basement membrane keratinocytes, nucleated, and they lose their nucleus as they go up to the stratum corneum, and they tend to be flat. Okay. When you do the biopsy here, you can objective just see on the histological sample this structure of the skin, because some skin conditions, they may lay here, they may be localized here, or up to the dermis, and this has a big role as well to the protection. And we have, again, I have already said this, these layers or sub-layers play a big role in protection. The stratum corneum, horny layer, because they are flat, they have completely lost their nucleus, which means that there are some conditions, skin conditions, like in psoriasis or ichthyosis, where corneocytes still have their nucleus, because the turnover of the keratinocyte from the basement membrane is increased by 10 times. Okay. Now, stratum lucidum only found in thick skin, like in the palm and sole. Okay. But the main components in the epidermis, when you talk about cells, are keratinocytes. But other cells in small quantity are present in the epidermis, and they play over some of them the key role, like melanocytes, Langerhans cells, and Merkel cells. Now, we have said this, as the keratinocytes move up, they lose their nucleus, and this is what we call keratinization. Okay. Now, this is again the same. You see the distribution of melanocytes. It's seen only on at the basal cell layer. Okay. Now, with at a ratio of 1 melanocytes to 7 keratinocytes. Okay. You have here, then you count some keratinocytes at the basal cell layer or basement membrane, 7 keratinocytes for 1 melanocytes. People who are you following?
Yes,
Hello.
we are.
Yes, yes.
Now, you see the turnover come from the basal cell here up to the dermis. Here you see it's at least polygonal, but here it's already flat and contain a nucleus that has changed the configuration, the form. You see here, it's already flat. Then at the horny layer stratum corneum, we have no nucleus, which is, this is very important to know because some conditions, skin conditions, you will have nucleus which are still present at the stratum corneum, like in psoriasis. Now, this process of keratinocyte division will from the basal cell here up to the corneum stratum, it takes at least 28 days, which means in some disease, some conditions, like psoriasis, ichthyosis, the turnover is like 5 days, from 5 to 6 days, which means these keratinocytes are still present here. Now, the process is called desquamation. That's why in some people, in some skin condition, like in eczema, in psoriasis, you have desquamations, which are these cells, which are just shedding from the skin, desquamation. When we characterize a lesion on skin, we say desquamative lesion, okay? Or desquamative lesion with, then you describe. You will see in when we will describe primary and secondary lesions, okay? This is the desquamation process, which takes at least 14 days, which is a turnover, a normal turnover of the keratinocytes. And know that in some disease, this turnover is decreased, okay? This is the same between these keratinocytes. There is a complex of mixture of lipids, protein, intercellular lipids, which make solid this structure. Now, the molecule is arranged in a highly organized fashion, fusing with each other and the corneocyte to form the skin lipid barrier against water loss and penetration by allergen and irritants. This is here we have the first role in presentations because it make a big and thick barrier which prevent from toxic, from irritants or other environment factors to penetrate the skin, okay? Now, that's why it can be visualized in microscope as a brick wall, okay? It contain as well water-retaining substance. That's why they attract and hold water, which means in some conditions like eczema, this stratum corneum is a bit not functional because it's a bit disrupted because of scratching, okay? Then irritants, allergens, those cause the eczema to happen, to occur, then it penetrates and you have recurrent flare-ups of the skin with eczema. Of course, it have epicutaneous absorption. It has a lot of absorbing or topical amavuta mujya mwisiga. Then the role is played by this stratum corneum. The stratum corneum regulates an amount and rate of quick absorption. This is very big role in in protection. Now, in healthy skin with the normal hydration, medication can only penetrate the stratum corneum by passing through the tight, relatively dry lipid barrier between cells. We have seen on the skin. When skin hydration is increased or the normal skin barrier is impaired as a result of skin disease, excoriation because of scratching, erosions, fissuring, or prematurity, percutaneous absorption will be increased. Okay? Now, the stratum corneum, you understand, keratinocytes, okay? Which divides into themselves from the basement membrane up to the corneocytes, which make the superficial layer with keratinocytes, which are not keratinocytes, okay? Nucleated. Now, the second big role is played by melanocytes. I have said that we have 1 melanocytes for 7 keratinocytes. Now, this is here they say just a 10 basal cell. Other in other books they say 7. If you say 7 and 10, it ranges from 7 to 10, but mainly it's 7. They produce pigment known as melanin, and melanin, which manufactured through the enzyme triosinase, and which is an amino acid packed into a cellular vesicle called melanosome. And the melanosome transported and delivered into the cytoplasm of the keratinocytes. And this melanosome, it will later on give melanin, which make the color of our skin. Okay? Now, don't confuse melanocytes, melanosome, and melanin. Melanocytes give melanosome, okay? And melanosome contains melanin, and melanin goes, it's the one that gives the aspect of our skin color, okay? And it plays a big role in UV radiations, ultraviolet, especially B, because B are the most harmful. Now, skin color is determined not by the number of melanocytes, okay, but a number and the size of melanosome. It means that iki narakibajije mu kizamini cy'ubushize. I said in white people are white because they have white melanocytes. There are those who said yes. Huh? Melanocytes gives melanin, and the melanin gives the color of the skin. Now, the skin color like me, or like this gentleman who is a bit light, do we have the same melanocytes? You and me. You. Yes. Eh? No. Ntabwo wakurikiye. Kuko uri inzobe uribaza ko undusha melanocytes nyinshi. No. Maybe it is the number of melanosome. Okay? This is very important. In white people, we have the same melanocytes. Okay? But the number of melanosome and the size differ from those of in white people and pigmented skin like ours. Okay? And it's influenced by several pigments, including melanin, carotene, and hemoglobin. Now,
Question.
yes.
What makes them differ from a production of those
Vuga cyane.
kubera iki badaproducinga enough melanosome kandi zifite melanocyte zimwe?
Why?
Why don't they produce enough melanosome like black ones as they have the same number of melanocytes?
Ntabwo mwumva neza kabisa.
Nayo ndi kubaza kubera
Mhm.
iki aba white people, kubera ko bose n'aba black bafite the same melanocytes, kuki nyine niki dutandukaniyeho gituma tugira enough nyine cyangwa nyinshi melanosome bo bakaproducinga nkeya?
This is constitutional. They have a few melanism compared to ours. And in size, we have ones who are many, who are big and in a big number. Okay? The difference just resides between the number and the size only. But the number of melanocytes is equal. Okay?
Okay.
Then this melanin is transferred into keratinocyte via melanism. The color of the skin therefore depends on the amount of melanin produced by melanocytes in the stratum basal and taken up by keratinocyte. Okay? Now, more you have melanosome, you have a big quantity of melanin. Okay? ngira ngo wowe butare uracyumvise. Skin color is also influenced by exposure to UV radiation, genetic factors, and abnormal influences. Because in some conditions, like in acne, after you have treated the acne, you have at the site of the lesion, there is an inflammatory process and attraction of this melanosome and melanin. And then you have what we call post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. That's why you have some injuries when it heals, the skin remains black. Okay? We have other cells, Langerhans cells. These are antigens presenting cells found in the stratum spinosum. They are a part of the body immune system. They are, again, are those presenting cells. They play a big role in allergy recognition, allergen recognitions. Okay? They are part of the body immune system and are constantly on the lookout for antigen in their surrounding, so they can trap them and present them to T helper lymphocyte, thereby activating an immune system. For those people who have been allergic to one component of like penicillin, let us say this example. These cell angles, they recognize they have just, they take the allergens, they give it up to the T helper lymphocyte. Then the role of this T helper lymphocytes is to memorize the allergen that the skin encountered previously. This is why it's known as lymphocytes are the memory cells. Okay? Merkel cells, again, the cells are only present in a very small number in the stratum basal. They are closely associated with terminal filaments of cutaneous nerves and seem to have a role in sensation, especially in areas of the body such as palm, sole, and genitalia. In this area, we have Merkel cells in a big quantities, comparing to the rest of the integument. That's why when you do the puncture of the part of the fingers, it's very painful comparing to other areas. Good pace. When you do a good the similar at the part, it's very painful because you have a big number of Merkel cells which play roles of uh, a role of sensation. It is a sensory cell, if you can say. Of course, it has a basement membrane, you have seen. This, what we call dermo-epidermic junction. Now, the all nutrients will come from capillaries, and then they will be exchanged through this basement membrane with these junctions, you see. Now, they are undulated, myrtillate, and then we have again these small layers, lamina lucida and the lamina densa. All these um, are seen in the basement membrane zone. Now, this basement membrane zone plays a big role in what? Nutrition of the epidermis. It's an area of exchanging zone. It's an exchanging zone where we have a lot of things that pass through this basement membrane zone. And that's why when we apply topical treatment, we especially use the penetration absorption is played through this basement membrane. Hello? Mm. Mhm. Reka ndaza kuguhamagara nari hariga ko. Niko bimeze barigira he. umenyesha abanyeshuri bahite bagenda bitegure kwatendinga. Merci beaucoup. Now, this is the second structure of the skin, the dermis. The second one, it's a bit thicker, and the dermis form the inner layer of the skin, and it's much thicker than the epidermis, 1 to 5 millimeters. I think when you do the surgery, you can even sometimes, if you look close to the cut, the area of the cut, you can visualize it. But like this one, the cell you can't see, of course. This is a microscopic. Okay? Situated between the basement membrane zone and the subcutaneous layer, the primary role of the dermis is to sustain and support the epidermis. Why? Because it contains many structures known as fibers, collagens, a lot of things. The elasticity of the skin is played by the epidermis. Okay? Now, its main role is protection, cushioning the deeper structure from mechanical injuries. When you cut, for example, it protects from the internal organs, bones, muscles, vessels. Then this is a big role we have to know, and to provide again nourishment to the epidermis through capillaries and basement membrane zone. Okay, and of course it plays an important role of wound healing. We've seen sometimes when someone has a big ulceration, when the epidermis and the dermis has gone, I think this is how we can do the skin grafting to support the granulation or the healing of the wound. That's why the epidermis has a big role in, yes. The network of interacting connectivity tissue with its important major components is made up collagens. And the collagens are the elastic fibers with some elastins. Now, we may have again few cells, master cells, and fibroblasts, and of course, blood vessels, lymphatic, sweat glands, and nerves. And epidermal appendage like the hair shafter penetrates into the epidermis when you have the hair follicular with its side sebaceous gland. These are the appendages. Okay? Now, we have seen this structure with sweat gland. This is the gland secretions up to the epidermis. You have nerves, you have vessels, the hair follicular here, which is directly vascularized. That's because that's why in some conditions, when you have a big trauma involving the scalp, when the hair follicular is involved, it can't regrow because the hair shaft has gone. The hair follicular has gone. Then it can't regrow. Suppose we have cut to up to the epidermis or at this area. It means that the hair follicular is still intact. Then the hair may regrow. Okay? That's why in some conditions like tinea capitis, you will have just first the hair has been removed, and then after you have treated, the hair regrow. Okay? Now we have the papilla dermis, the upper layer, and the reticular dermis, the deeper one. We have seen it contains fibroblasts, master cells, nerve ending, lymphatics, and the epidermal appendage. And surrounding this structure is a viscous gel that allows nutrient, hormone, and waste products to pass through the dermis. Providing lubrication gives bark allowing the dermis to act as a shock absorber from outside uh, environment. Now, fibroblasts are specialized cells, and they are the cells in the epidermis, in the dermis. And you have again collagens. And the collagens gives a solid uh, structure that has the skin. Okay? Now, again, they are vulnerable to sun exposition or to exposure from any kind of ultraviolet radiations, which means, for example, the dermatitis, for those people who can have radiotherapy, again, you may have the dermis uh, which is lost because it has a deep uh, penetration. Then ultraviolet radiations B or A may go up to the dermis. Now, the master cells again are seen in this structure. They play a role in allergic conditions because they contain histamine. Histamine, when you have um, an allergy, when your skin encounter the allergen being a protein that gives allergies. It's taken up by master cells, and master cells contains granules as well. Then they rupture to go through the epidermis up to the dermis up to the epidermis. Then from there you start scratching. then it's spread by this muscle cells. And of course, blood vessels, uh, where we have a complex network of vessels. Now, these vessels play a role of thermoregulation. Blood vessels are divided into two distinct networks. We have this one, the first network, the horizontal one, which are the big one, big vessels, and the small vessels, capillaries, that are perpendicular to the horizontal one. And of course, the role is to bring all nutrients to the dermis and epidermis. Okay? Now, we have also the lymphatic drainage, which is present and which is very important. That's why we see sometimes in some instances when the skin is injured, you have this clear liquid that comes out. These are lymphatic um, liquid, okay? Which the lymphatic are also a vessel, isn't it? Yes. Vein, arteries, and the lymphatics. Okay. Of course, its main role is to conserve plasma protein and scavenge foreign material, antigenic substances, and bacteria. That's why you have a wound at the skin at a distance. On the distance, you have this lymph node, which is a reaction to a bacterial infection or inflammation. Okay? The hypodermis is the subcutaneous or the subcutaneous layer right below the dermis. Just it's composed of fats, adipocytes. Okay? Of again, this play a role of shock absorption, and we have some conditions like lymphoma, where we may have a disease called lipoma, which is an agglomeration of adipocytes to make together a lipoma. Of course, you have seen it is as well vascularized. Now, the epidermis is not vascularized. The dermis and the epidermis are vascularized. Okay? Now, I think when you go to the skin anatomy, that I think you have the structure of the skin made of epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis. People of Butare, who here?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Hello? Hello?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Are you following?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are
But
following.
Yes.
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 I think all comments, the comments I was making is that we have in the structure of the skin, you retain that we have three layers: epidermis, dermis, and hypodermis or subcutaneous, and each one has his own role and mainly in protection, absorption, and nutrition. And the epidermis only is not vascularized. The rest are vascularized. Okay? I think we take five. Okay? Then we go to the function and physiology of the skin. Okay? Take five. Saa yine n'iminota cumi n'itatu dusubire duhure.
Yes, sir.